Om Purnamadav Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Mudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Mudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, we stopped in two movements as if I recapture, there was the first layout of 3 shlokas, that all this is to be inhabited by the Lord, therefore become free from the object of enjoyment as the Lord is. And because whose wealth is it? It's actually your wealth as the Lord, but not as Anisha, yes? Then you are the subject to the enjoyment, and so you can't be free from the world. You become part of Prakriti. And then second movement is doing here verily works, being free and doing works. You can achieve the state where every action is not creating karmic consequences. That means it is constantly transforming the world. Yeah, it's a constant sacrifice, sacred action of the spirit in nature. This is the sacrifice. So the nature is changing, transforming. And the third is you may identify yourself not with the soul, not with the Lord, but with your outer nature, with the surface being. And in that sense you lose. Yeah, you commit suicide in a way. You kill yourself and you become the instrumental to the nature, which is fine. Yeah? You will be doing the work anyhow. Right? This is the beauty of the divine arrangement. Yeah? You are allowed to deny even the divine in this world, and still it will function. And then we are coming to the spirit, second movement. It is not anejat, it is not moving. Ekam, one, manasah javiyah, faster than the mind. Naina deva apnuvan, the gods do not catch it, do not reach it. Purva marshat, it moves always in front. Tadhavatun yanati etitishtat, he is standing and overcoming, overrunning all other running. Tasmin napo matarishva dadhati, and to him the Lord of life establishes the embryo. Tadejati tannaijati taddure tadvantiket, that moves not, that is far, that is near, that is inside of all this, tad antar asya sarvasya tadu sarvasyasya bhayatah, and it is outside of all of this. This is the spirit in which the divine, the Lord, can manifest himself, yeah? And connect to all his representatives, multitude. Yastu sarvani bhutani. Here we come to the third movement. Who sees all the beings in oneself, Atmani, evanupashyati, sarvabhuteshu, and in all the beings, Atmanam, oneself. Tatona vijugupsate, and from that he is not shrinking. This is interesting. Why he is not should not hide. Jugupsa is actually the desiderative from root to hide. Yes, guh. It's an interesting kind of combination. So desiring to hide, he is not shrinking or not desire. He does not desire to hide. From what? From seeing oneself in all and all in oneself. It seems that it is a very powerful experience, yeah, which may hit you so strongly that you may want to shrink back to yourself, yeah? And not to expand and not to see yourself everywhere and everybody in yourself, because that is a new state of consciousness, of the divine consciousness, yeah, present in the universe. You remember what happened to Arjuna when he saw Vishvarupa Darshana, something of the kind. Yeah? He got scared because you don't see only good things, you see all things. You see everything, and not only see, you feel it, you become it. So it's not just seeing like a picture movie. It's everything you see is you. It's happening to you. Can you imagine such a intensity of experience? So the one who can manage that and is not shrinking, is not trying to run away from it and hide in his smaller self. Yasmin sarvani bhutani, in whom all the beings, atmaiva bhut, became himself. Vijanatah, of the one who discerns. An interesting Vijanatah is used as Vijnarut, yes, from here Vijnana, the supermind, the one who can comprehend all the beings as the part of this enterprise of the spirit. Tatra ko moha, there, what kind of moha? Bewilderment. Kach shoka, what kind of shock? Shoka is shock, grief. Ekatvam anupashyatah, of the one who sees the oneness. This is something which Sri Aurobindo experienced in Alipur jail, yeah, when he saw Narayana in everyone, and this spiritual transformation, the widening of the psychic presence to the borders of the universe, embracing all by one's own consciousness. And then we come to the next longish verse. Saparyagat shukram akayam avranamasnaviram shuddham apapa viddham kavir manishi paribhu swayam bhur yathatatyatorthan vyadadhat shashvatibhyah samabhyah. It is he, the Lord, that has gone abroad, that which is bright, bodiless, without scar or imperfection, without sinews, pure, unpierced by evil. The seer, the thinker, the one who becomes everywhere, the self-extent, has ordered objects. The self-existent has ordered objects perfectly according to their nature from years sempiternal. So these are the terms of the Lord. Yeah, see, it's all masculine gender. Saha, he. Paryagat, went abroad. All literally, he embraced everything by himself. Pari agat, pari around, he went around. He embraced, he included all. Shukram, pure or bright. Akayam, bodiless. Avranam, without, what do you call it? scar or imperfection. Asnaviram, without sinews, without those knots where the connections, without the connections, there is no connection. It's all one presence of the Spirit of the Lord. Shuddham, pure, apapavidham, not pierced by the sin. Sin cannot penetrate it. Kavich, the seer, the poet. Manishi, the wise or the thinker. He has the footnote here for the thinker. Paribhu, the one who exists all over. Swayambhu, self-existent. Yathatatyato, in accordance. Arthan, or accordingly. The meanings or the objects. Artha is the object and the meaning. The meanings vyadadahat, he established. Shashvatibhyah samabhyah, for the times sempiternal, forever. He established the meanings. I'm changing a bit translation. Sri Aurobindo says ordered objects perfectly, according to their nature. But it could be also ordered perfectly the meanings, the meaningful relations for their, so all things in the world are therefore meaningfully related. It's quite interesting. The meanings and the objects go together in a way. And Sanskrit in this case is profound because artha is the purpose, the meaning, and the object. And even in English we used the object, objectives, as the quite interesting. So object and the aim and the meaning are somehow related. Only in our mind we separated them, the meaning and the form. So there is a footnote for the thinker, Manishi. There is a clear distinction in Vedic thought between Kavi, the seer, and Manishi, the thinker. The former indicates the divine supra-intellectual knowledge, which by direct vision and illumination sees the reality, the principles, and the forms of things in their true relations. The latter, the laboring mentality, which works from the divided consciousness through the possibilities of things downward to the actual manifestation in form and upward to their reality in the self-existent Brahman. He makes this subtle distinction between Kavi as a seer, who perceives the truth directly without really working out the form for manifestation or moving from the form in manifestation towards the self-existent presence of that form or the divine prototype of the form or its meaning. But that is the work of the mind, and that is Manishi, who uses the mind for the spiritual purpose and realization, which can be done. Many people blame the mind, saying that, you're too mental, you're using mind, but Sri Aurobindo was always on the side of the mind. Later, when Mother came, she started to say to many people who were using this kind of knowledge in the mental way only, as a kind of professorship in the university, she started to speak that this is too mental. You have to step out of that mentality of rationality, rationalizing the divine, and so on. But people took it in the wrong way. They thought, I know many people who took it in this way, that we should not study and we should not use our mind for the realization of the divine. It is a wrong assumption. The mind has to become subtle. It has to widen itself. It has to get new capacities. It has to become a higher mind, illumined mind, intuitive mind. It has to become overmind and finally supermind. So without mind, there is not, mind you, there is not much to do. So here, this Manishi, it's a beautiful description that it is working out, the spiritual presence downwards towards the manifestation and upward from manifestation towards the spirit. So this has to be done by all of us. And then we come to the most interesting part of this third movement. Andam tamav pravishanti ye vidyamupasate tato bhuya ivate tamoya o vidyayam rataha. Into a blind darkness they enter who follow after the ignorance. It's quite obvious. If people follow after the ignorance, they enter into the blind darkness. They, as if into a greater darkness, who devote themselves to the knowledge alone. This is a puzzling statement. And Sri Aurobindo actually adds this alone, which explains a lot. In the text, there is no alone, but he adds it, and that makes all the difference. So, into the blind darkness, andam tamav pravishanti, enter, ye, those who, vidyam, avidyam upasate. Notice that Sanskrit drops are, so it could be also vidyam upasate, who follow the vidya, who follow avidya, and tato bhuya, and even into the greater eva, as if. Te, those, tamas, darkness, yeu, those who, which, who, vidyayam rataha, happy with vidya, who rejoice in knowledge, literally. He translates who devote themselves to the knowledge. He finds kind of more kind of applicable explanation for English-speaking people and thinking people. But literally, who rejoice in knowledge. They enter even into the greater, as if greater darkness. So what is all this about? What is this vidya and avidya? There is the whole article beautifully written by him on vidya and avidya, and it is everywhere. In Life Divine, in the synthesis, you will find this vidya and avidya. Vidya is knowledge, avidya is ignorance. It's from root vid, we spoke about this already, to discover, to know, kind of to be in the state of revelation, opening, discovery. Vid in Latin is to see. It's quite, from here, video and so on. It makes sense because it's kind of to see directly, to see vividly, to have, complete opening to the truth. So vidya is that absolute knowledge or the transcendental revelation. And avidya is that partial knowledge, knowledge in time and space, knowledge which is not completely revealed, but partially revealed. Ignorance is not absence of knowledge. Here also Sanskrit plays its role as a language. Avidya, this is not really a denial totally. If you read the description, grammatical description of particle you will see that it plays many roles. First of all, it shifts the present tense of the verbs into the past tense. So it's also interesting. It makes something which is actual non-actual. So this non-actuality is not a total denial. It's like vidya is not totally actual. It's partially actual in that moment of time and space. So there are many avidyas. There is the whole list of avidyas, and they are considered to be knowledge, but knowledge of a particular context. So even Vedas are considered to be avidya. So even all the Brahmanas, Upanishads, everything is a partial knowledge. Knowledge which was given in time and space, which came to us in some particular form. Though it has that impact of the greater knowledge, so knowledge, vidya, is realization of some kind. And avidya is the means by which we get to that realization. I had to clarify this because we may misunderstand avidya. So avidya is to know how to use computers, or how to know how to kick the ball in the soccer game, and that soccer game came only 200 years back. So before it wasn't there, and maybe after it won't be there. So within this frame of time, it's a specific knowledge, or knowledge of English language, which is changing, and in 300 years it will be totally different language. So, but now it's important to have this knowledge. And to use Microsoft Word, maybe in 10 years it won't be any more Microsoft Word, and nobody would know about it. But now it is important. So this knowledge in time and space has, and that knowledge of knowing all, by knowing which everything is known, as it were, these two are insufficient as they are separately. So having this partial knowledge only, one enters into the blind darkness. And knowing that only, without knowing this, without knowing how to use computer, how to kick the ball, how to prepare the food, how to brush the teeth, and so on, one can also not find the realization of the truth, enters into the even greater darkness. Anyadevahuh vidyaya, anyadahura vidyaya, iti shushrumadhiranam yenastadvichachakshire, vidyam cheyastadvedo bhayam saha, avidyayam rityam tirtva, vidyayam ritamashnute. Other, verily, it is said, is that which comes by the knowledge, other that which comes by the ignorance. This is the law we have received from the wise, who revealed that to our understanding. So the source of that knowledge and of this partial knowledge is elsewhere. It's not neither there nor here. Both of these are the result of something else, anyat, other. Vidyam cha vidyam cheyastat, and the one who knows that as both in one, the knowledge and the ignorance together. By the ignorance he crosses beyond death, and by knowledge he enjoys immortality. And this is happening simultaneously. It is not something that you first cross beyond death, you go beyond death, and then you enjoy immortality. It is by crossing beyond death with ignorance, with partial knowledge. So to say crossing beyond death means, Shibindra says beyond, and here it's mrityum tirtva. I would put it in a bit different way. Crossing the field of death, let us say like this, through the field of death, walking in this mortal world, we enjoy immortality. So we can experience immortality by kicking the ball, by typing the Microsoft, by doing anything in this world. In the spatial knowledge we can have the connection to the higher presence in us, higher knowledge. And if these two come together, then that will reveal itself, the knowledge of Purushottama. If the transcendental knowledge and knowledge of in time and space join together, then Purushottama's presence or consciousness could be experienced by us. This is the beautiful knowledge of Isha Upanishad. Yeah? So none of them is sufficient for us. None of them is enough separately. Both, and there is something else beyond them which has to reveal itself through them both.
So I had a quick question here.
Yes.
So this partial knowledge that we connect with knowledge itself, avidya and vidya, it's connected. So this is through the integral yoga. My understanding is that that's what we are attempting to do.
Yeah. Yes. I
We are
guess.
attempting, yeah. I think I don't know. That's how it's making sense to me. That it's
Absolutely. Yeah. To me too. This is integral yoga in pure sense. Yes. So in Isha Upanishad, that's why Sri Aurobindo took Isha Upanishad and not only made this beautiful book, but also the whole life divine is built on it. It even starts with this. You remember the denial of the ascetic and the materialist denial. This is exactly vidya and avidya.
Mm, mm, mm. Thank you.
Mhm. Well, this is a profound thing. It's actually everything we have to know, that none of these, no pure knowledge there of the Lord, so to say, beyond nature, nor the knowledge of nature are enough. We need more. We need to combine them both. Only then that magic will take place. Yeah? And our embodiment will be fulfilled. And then, antam tamav pravishanti ye sambhuti mupasate tato bhuya ivate tamoya o sambhutyam rataha. Into the blind darkness they enter who follow after the non-birth, who are seeking only to be free from nature. They, as if into the greater darkness, who devote themselves to the birth alone, and those who want to be only embodied, they are entering into the even greater darkness. I got the déjà vu feeling because I saw the cat behind you, Sandra, and and I thought it was cat behind me. I thought, oh, our cat came into the house. Because we have both black, so I kind of identify myself with you, you see, who sees oneself in other beings and other beings in oneself. This happened. Okay. So here it continues in the same manner as Vidya. Vidya, Anyadevahu Sambhavat Anyadahura Sambhavat iti Shushromadhiranam Yenastadvicha Chakshire. Other than, they say, from Sambhava, other verily it is said that is that which comes by birth, other that which comes by the non-birth. This is the law we have received from the wise who revealed that to our understanding. And now there is a puzzling thing, which is always confusing everyone and me also. Sambhutincha vinashancha yastadvedo bhayam saha vinashena mrityum tirtva sambhutyamritam ashnoti. He who knows that as both in one, the birth and the dissolution of birth, by dissolution he crosses beyond death, and by birth enjoys immortality.
Isn't this the same as the earlier verse?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Only birth and non-birth has changed the position.
Yes.
And so birth, it seems, is important for enjoying immortality. There is an inbuilt paradox here. I struggled with this for years. Every time I come to the shloka, I have like deja vu, like boom, I don't know where I am anymore. Because truly speaking, the birth in the body should be that kind of belonging to avidya, no? Not in the position of vidya. And here it is in a position of vidya, and non-birth is seen as vinasha, as destruction, and it is in the position of avidya. So it's kind of, whoa, wait a minute, what is going on? The mind is not logical anymore. It's this paradox which is inbuilt in the text to make us really think deeply, or maybe experience the truth of this. So now, by reading this today, I got another kind of glimpse that amritam, the immortality, can be enjoyed only in the state of embodiment. Yeah? There is no other way to enjoy immortality. When you go there, beyond, into the transcendental, you are immortal there, but you don't enjoy immortality. There is no more that kind of separation of you and you being enjoying immortality in the state of mortality. You must be in the state of time and space to enjoy immortality. As in this hymn of Agastya Rishi, where Indra tells him, Agastya, you are trying to reach that where everything is disappearing. All your intention to know that will disappear there. When you arrive there in the transcendental, you would not even remember what you were there for, because all the intentions of the state in time and space to realize oneself, to experience the divine, would be dissolved there. So what's the point of going there if you will have to start again the same journey, so to say? As Sri Aurobindo beautifully describes this, somebody asks him, is the mukti a final thing when you are liberated and you dissolve yourself in the transcendental spirit? He says, I doubt it. It's interesting, he doubts it because the intention of the divine was to manifest. So look at this, you go there, you dissolve, and then you're sent back to do the same work again. You start again until you are done, until you connect both the transcendental vidya and this avidya. They have to be connected. You have to experience the transcendental presence here in time and space. That is the purpose, the meaning of our manifestation. So if you dissolve manifestation to go there, it's no use anyway. If you want to disappear there, if you go there only to gain the support for your work here, as it is second shloka says, yes, kurvan neveha karmani, but doing here verily works. with the freedom of liberation, then it makes sense. Then their consequences, karmic consequences, are not produced and the nature is being transformed.
This requires a lot of contemplation and think how, you know, because it's just the opposite of everything that we've always been taught in the regular mainstream study of religion or philosophy, is that it's only in the spirit you enjoy immortality, not in the embodiment. That's the popular thinking.
Right, because of Advaitic, yes, philosophy which took over. By the way, Sri Aurobindo beautifully describes this, what happened after the Vedic times. So in the Vedas, he says it's due to the failure. This is his exact quotation. Due to the failure of Vedic rishis to transform the material life of man, there was a major split on two different directions. And he explains why it failure, because of humanity was not ready. Humanity could not take it. It is a very high ideal. It demands too much. It's much more difficult to realize than just Advaitic, yeah, or pure materialistic. One of these paths, as life divine, starts with both denials. Yeah? So one of them is easier to follow than to follow both.
Exactly.
So because of that, there was a split. It was kind of nearly inevitable. So one part of humanity, that means India, followed the spirit, denying nature, and the other part, the Western, followed the nature, denying spirit. So the Western civilization became materialistic. It came slowly through alchemy, through the magic of the Chaldean tradition, and that alchemy became the science, and science started. So it went for power over nature, and this went for knowledge. So this split on power and knowledge into different civilizations. Indian civilization became spirit-oriented, denying nature, and Western nature-oriented, denying or neglecting rather spirit. And now they have to come back again, and that's the whole meaning of Sri Aurobindo and the mother coming together. Notice, mother with Chaldean tradition, adept of occult knowledge, coming back to Sri Aurobindo, and this is amazing. And she brings him the sign, which is exactly this, the David star, the Chaldean tradition, and the lotus within with 9 streams of water, the Vedic tradition of Avatar. She puts it together, and here we are. We are reuniting these two paths again. And this is Vidya and Avidya, basically. And both enter into the blind darkness if they are not united. Neither Western nor Eastern tradition is leading us to the truth. And then we are coming to the last portion. Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapi hitam mukham tattvam pushanna pavrenu satyadharmaya drishtaye. The face of the truth is covered with a brilliant golden lid. That do thou remove, O fosterer, Pushan, the law of the truth for sight. Now here's a footnote for the Pushan fosterer. It's longish, but we will read through. In the inner sense of the Veda, Surya, the sun god, represents the divine illumination of the Kavi, which exceeds mind and forms the pure self-luminous truth of things. His principal power is self-revelatory knowledge, termed in the Veda sight, drishti. Drishti is revelation, the highest form of knowledge. His realm is described as the truth, the law and the vast, Satyam Ritam Brihat, in other words. He is the fosterer or increaser, for he enlarges and opens man's dark and limited being into a luminous and infinite consciousness. He is the sole seer, seer of oneness and knower of the self, and leads him to the highest sight. He is Yama. He is Yama. You remember we discussed Yama. Controller or ordainer, for he governs man's action and manifested being by the direct law of the truth, Satya Dharma. The Yama is considered to be the lord of Dharma in the Veda and in the post-Vedic literature. For he governs man's action and manifested being by the direct law of the truth, Satya Dharma, and therefore by the right principle of our nature, Yatha Tathyatha. A luminous power proceeding from the Father of all existence, he reveals in himself the divine Purusha, of whom all beings are the manifestations. His rays are the thoughts that proceed luminously from the truth, the vast, but become deflected and distorted, broken up and disordered in the reflecting and dividing principle, mind. They form there the golden lid which covers the face of the truth. The seer prays to Surya to cast them into right order and relation, and then draw them together into the unity of revealed truth. The result of this inner process is the perception of the oneness of all beings in the divine soul of the universe. So Hiranmayena Patrena, by the golden lid, Satyasya of the truth, Apihitam Mukham, the face is covered. Tattvam Pushan, that you Pushan, Apavrenu, open up. Satyadharmaya, for the one who seeks true Dharma, Drishtaye, for revelation, for revelation. So we know about this golden lid. Mother describes it in 1956. It's exactly that golden lid. We know it already from the other totally different psychological description when Mother in 1956, on the 29th of February, very rare day, 29th of February, she took the big hammer and hit that lid, and she shattered it into pieces, and then the golden light entered into the earthly atmosphere of the supermind. So this golden lid is something which we have to remove, and then that supreme light will enter directly into our mind, into our vital and even physical nature. And then the truth will manifest, whether we want it or not.
So he's saying that death or Yama is the one who actually removes that, makes it possible to remove that golden lid.
There are
Because,
names here in the next, yeah, Pushan, Opushan, Ekarshe, one Rishi, Oyama, Surya, Prajapatya. So it's one of the names. By the way, Yama is that exactly that first human being who found way back to the truth. Yeah. So he was the first who died. Yeah. We spoke about Yama and Yami in the other session. And Yami is his twin sister. Yeah. And they got separated. So Yama went to heaven and Yami was left on earth. So these two twins who represent our group soul got different tasks. Yama got the task of the soul traveling back to its origin, to rest and to take another plan, to make another plan for next reincarnation, so to say, and come back to this. So he is responsible for the soul traveling to the place of the truth. Yeah. And Yami is somehow in charge, I guess, of the soul traveling to the embodied state. This is how they took the charge of our traveling. These are the representatives of our group soul of humanity, the solar deities, the solar twins. Of course, it's a symbolic language of the Veda as we know it. It's not the being who is sitting there like a human being. It's the force. You know, it can embody itself in the human form, but it's a power of consciousness which provides this journey or constant reincarnation in time and space of one divine being in many forms. I have to say it because we are so differently thinking. Our mind is made differently now, so I'm kind of trying to fit it into another language. All right, so here we are. Pushan, Ekarshe, Yama, Surya, Prajapatya, Vyuha Rashmins, spread the Rashmins, the rays, Samuha, gather or focus or concentrate Tejas, the brightness. Yatte rupam kalyanatamam tate pashyami, that form which is the most auspicious I see. Yosao, the one who is there. Asau Purusha, that Purusha, Sohamasmi, that I am. I will read Sri Aurobindo's translation, O fosterer, O soul seer, O ordainer, O illumining sun, O power of the Father, Prajapatya, of creatures, marshal thy rays, draw together thy light, the lustre, which is thy most blessed form of all, that in thee I behold, the Purusha there and there, he am I. And then Vayuranilamamritam bhasmantam shariram Om krato smarakritam smarakrato smarakritam smara Vayuranilamamritam bhasmantam shariram. The breath of things, Vayu, Anilam, the breath, Amritam, immortal, the immortal life. But of this body ashes are the end. Atha idam bhasmantam shariram. Shariram ends in the bhasman. Bhasman is the ashes. Om, O will, krato. It's from krato, yes, in vocative case. O krato, smarakritam. Remember that which was done. Remember, smara, or will remember that which was done. Remember. This is in the funeral, they read this, these 4 shlokas usually. So for the purpose of the soul leaving and remembering what was done, that memory of that psychic memory imprint, yes, to be held for the sake of next reincarnation to be more conscious. There are 2 footnotes of the breath of things. and the will. Vayu, called elsewhere Matarishvan, the life energy in the universe. In the light of Surya, he reveals himself as an immortal principle of existence of which birth and death and life in the body are only particular and external processes. This is amazing. When this supramental realization takes place, when the Surya illumines and brings that light into the pranic world and to the world of a material world, then the Vayu will reveal himself as immortal principle of existence. Immortality here, the breath, the life, that puzzle, that secret of life, which we never could crack or understand what life is about. It's the immortal principle of the divine. So it will reveal itself. And the number 12 on about will, the Vedic term kratu means sometimes the action itself, sometimes the effective power behind action, represented in mental consciousness by the will. Agni is this power. He is divine force, which manifests first in matter as heat and light and material energy, and then, taking different forms in the other principles of man's consciousness, leads him by a progressive manifestation upward to the truth and the bliss. This is the aspiration in nature which slowly reveals itself, and leads us first to the vital, to the mental, divine realization in the mind, and even beyond. It is that aspiration which is constantly aspiring for the higher and higher consciousness. And finally, the last one, Agnenaya Supatharaya Asman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidvan Yuyodhyasmadjuhuranameno Bhuyishtham Te Nama Uktim Vidhema. So this is the last verse of Isha Upanishad and the last verse of Vajasane Samhita. O Agni, lead. O God Agni, knowing all the things, Vayunani, Vishwani, Vayunani, Vidvan, that are manifested, lead us by the good path to the felicity. Supatha Raye Asman. Naya, lead. Remove from us the devious attraction of sin. Yuyodhi, separate. Asmat, from us. Juhuranameno, deviating or tempting sin. Bhuishtham te nama uktim vidhema. And to thee, completest speech of submission we would dispose. Nama uktim, surrender. In self-expression, we would kind of give or establish. There are footnotes. Attraction of sin, Juhuranam, Enas. Sin, in the conception of the Veda from which the verse is taken bodily, actually the whole verse is taken from from Agastya Rishi. It is from Agastya Rishi, the last verse, quoted by Yajnavalkya. So, is that which excites and hurries the faculties into deviation from the good path. Notice how Sri Aurobindo beautifully describes sin. What is sin? Is that which excites and hurries the faculties into deviation from the good path. Shortcuts. Let me make a shortcut. Let me gain something faster. be more smart, be more effective, and so on and so forth. I want to gain it faster than I actually grow in consciousness to it. So I want to have the result before I deserve the result. This is the very nature of sin. It's not actually even bad. It's just wrong. It makes us do the wrong move. It's not bad. We have to go faster. We have to go there. We have to become better, become more effective, but not by the means of mechanical means, not through non-development, not developing ourselves to fit to that level of consciousness and deserve that result. So if I don't deserve the result, if I don't deserve $1 million, why should I have it then? This money. So why should I have, I'm saying $1 million because it's just from this language. So can you imagine, I get millions of dollars and I don't deserve them. What could happen to me? From this small dwarf, this money will make a big giant dwarf. So it's exactly that what should not happen. Because this is distorting the whole path, the good path, the path of growth of consciousness and match of the consciousness with manifestation. This mismatch is constantly here. We can see it. Some kind of one person, one Putin can create a turmoil, a dwarf made with billions of dollars, a huge dwarf sitting on earth. And God knows what will happen next, So this is exactly the problem of exaggeration, of hurrying, of exciting the faculties to get there where we should go, but without proper means of consciousness. There is a straight road, a road of naturally increasing light and truth, Riju Pantha, Ritasya Pantha. So Riju means direct path, straight way. As Mother, you remember she was making this beautiful picture. Leading over infinite levels and towards infinite vistas, Vitani, Prishtani. Prishtha is the back or the top of the mountain, by which the law of our nature should normally take us towards our fulfillment. Nature is actually working out all the nitty-gritties until we reach to that top. Sin compels it instead to travel with stumblings amid uneven and limited tracks and along crooked windings, Duritani, Vrijinani. So there is a crooked path and there is a straight path. Straight path is kind of the shortest, but it looks like very long to our impatient consciousness. We want it faster, and that's why we choose crooked ways. And then there is Vidhema. The word Vidhema is used of the ordering of the sacrifice, the disposal of the offerings to the god, and generally of the sacrifice or worship itself. The Vedic namas is the surrender or the bowing down, Namo Namaha, internal and external obeisance, is the symbol of submission to the divine being in ourselves and in the world. Here the offering is that of completest submission and the self-surrender of all the faculties of the lower egoistic human nature to the divine will force, Agni, so that free from internal opposition, it may lead the soul of man through the truth towards a felicity full of the spiritual riches, Raye, towards the fulfillment in bliss. That state of beatitude is intended self-content in the principle of pure love and joy, which the Vedic initiates regarded as the source of the divine existence in the universe and the foundation of the divine life in the human being. It is the deformation of this principle by egoism which appears as desire and the lust of possession in the lower worlds. Great, we finished the Upanishad. It's a profound Upanishad. It's one of the shortest, in the shorter only Mandukya Upanishad, 12 verses, but this one has 18 verses. If you have burning question, you can ask, otherwise we can close. Yes, please switch on because you're muted. Oh yeah, I will stop this and you will see it better. Yeah, here it is. You have to unmute yourself, please, Sandra.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you say again the book that's on the Upanishads by Sri Aurobindo? The little
Oh,
pamphlet.
Isha Upanishad. It's called
Ish-
Isha Upanishad. There are several editions. There is the Upanishads, the older edition, but Isha Upanishad, and there is also Kena and other Upanishads. We will come to it. There are two books. I can
Two
send
books.
you these PDFs. No problem.
Okay. Thank
Both
you.
of them. Yes.
Thank you. And that was lovely. Thank you.
Lovely. Great. Okay, then if no questions, then I will close. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.